Good morning, Dan and Amy, and let's get in for Amy this morning. I should mention is Kristen McQuarrie, Chicago Tribune editorial board member. Kristen, let's get right to it. We've got our friend Bret Baier, Fox News anchor, special report, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Chicago time. Also the author of the new book, 3 Days in Moscow, Ronald Reagan and the Fall of the Soviet Empire. Bret, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Before we get to the IG report, I just obviously wanted to ask about Charles Krauthammer after he released that poignant letter a week ago, and what your conversations with him have been like, a reaction to the letter that he released.
Yeah, I mean, it took my breath away. I knew probably 10 days maybe before that, and just the cancer that they thought they got came back in a aggressive form, and as only Charles could do, he eloquently is leaving this life.
Yeah.
So I kind of encourage them to put out something to let viewers and readers know ahead of time, so that he could see how much influence he's had in the world and in the U.S. and the love for him. And I think that has happened. And I've seen a lot of op-eds and letters and all kinds of outpourings. So I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, no question. The letter was so elegant, as of course Krauthammer is, but I love the line that, basically, I lived the life I wanted to live. I'm going to miss it, but I lived the life I wanted to live.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that special that I did with Charles about his life and around the book that he had, Things That Matter. You can watch it online. It's you just see a guy who's done everything he could possibly do in amazing circumstances as a quadriplegic after that accident in medical school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was. I mean, so he had. I didn't realize this until I read more about him, but it was a diving accident while he was in med school, and he was in the hospital for 14 months, but came back, finished, went on to become a psychiatrist, and then, of course, had his writing, author, Pulitzer Prize-winning career after that.
Yeah. I mean, it was his freshman year, his first year of medical school, Harvard Medical School. Dove into a pool that wasn't filled all the way, broke his neck, and then finished with that class at the top of the class.
Wow. At
Harvard Medical School.
Well, switching gears to this Inspector General report, want to get your take on this. Kim Strassel, who's, of course, on Fox routinely, she summed up this 568-page report in 2 words: insubordination and bias. I think you could add a few more words: uninterested, improper gifts, intimidated by Hillary's lawyers. But insubordination and bias seem to be the top lines. What was your take?
Well, I think what happened yesterday is that the initial, spin of it was that at 30,000 feet they didn't find documented bias in actions by the FBI, but listed a number of things, especially Jim Comey's actions, that were a problem. As you looked at it longer, and as you really got into the 568 pages, there's a lot of things in there that are really damning. The Strzok texts with Lisa Page, the another 2 FBI agents who are talking about the resistance of fighting, President Trump. The fact that Hillary Clinton's emails definitively were captured by foreign agents of some kind. The fact that she was emailing President Obama while in a foreign hostile territory using her BlackBerry, and the fact that Obama was receiving these emails from an email server that was private, and then said to 60 Minutes that he didn't know about it until the press knew about it. And there were so many little nuggets that, if you just delve in there, are pretty damning.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point. Is that the media, especially left media, keeps focusing on just the one Strzok text saying, we're not going to allow him to become president. We'll stop this. But there's the entire quilt here of all of these instances just reveal that there was, in fact, bias. So that I think argument can be thrown out the door. What do you think about some calls like from Rudy Giuliani and others that this gives the president leverage to actually fire Mueller?
Yeah, I think that's a dangerous road to go down, and once he does, it opens up another, Pandora's box of actions up on Capitol Hill. I think that they're obviously going to use this, and I think if you look into the IG report, there's also a tease of what's to come. This is the Hillary Clinton email investigation. There's another IG report that's coming of the beginning part of the Trump investigation, and then. And there are indications in here that he's kind of laying the groundwork for what's to come. And so I know it's frustrating to people who watch these things, the investigations of the investigations, that it never seems to end and no one seems to be held accountable. But I do think that this is kind of a blueprint for down the road.
Yeah, that no one ever seems to be held accountable is the real rub, I think. And it's in Jim Comey here, we have another instance with the lecturing about Hillary Clinton improperly using a private email and saying, boy, anybody who does that in FBI, they'd be in big trouble, and they know it as long as I'm the sheriff in this town. And then, of course, we find out he was using his Gmail account to conduct FBI business. I mean, it's so, and it's very much like the McCabe thing. McCabe can illegally leak and arguably illegally leak and no prosecution, perhaps. This Senate intel staffer illegally leaks classified info. He's getting prosecuted. Hillary Clinton doesn't get prosecuted. A 3-star general does get prosecuted. Sort of the capriciousness of law enforcement.
And Washington. I mean, this is why people hate Washington. For one of many reasons. The other thing is the nugget in here that these FBI folks in their dealings with the press were getting kind of kickbacks for helping, leak. Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we've been really
Wizards tickets or something.
Yeah, we're really missing out. We've had people ask that. I work for the Chicago Tribune, and I mean, we have to sign a contract every year that's very specific about no dinners. You have to disclose any outside sources of income. That just doesn't really happen, I feel like, in credible news organizations. So I was surprised that there's even some defense of that among the media that, well, this is what you have to do to get the scoop in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I must have missed out.
Speaking of scoops, real quickly before we let you go, you had this great interview with Trump on Air Force One about his summit with Kim Jong-un this week. And, so give us a little flavor of what it's like to be on Air Force One for, the common folk out here in the hustings.
So obviously covering the White House for in the Bush administration, I'd been on Air Force One many times, but it came out of the blue. We were kind of seeing if something would happen, materialize. They said, can you get to Air Force One? We worked the logistics, and we made it happen, which was not easy, but it's really interesting to see you see always the shot of him going up the stairs, but just to see it from the inside of him walking up the stairs and kind of walking in, and then down the hallway to a conference room where we did the interview. And what was really surprising, and I guess, and I talked about it at the beginning, was he was on 26 hours of being up, and he's 72 as of yesterday. The energy of this president, no matter what you feel about him, he is nonstop.
He is Bret Baier. He's the Fox News anchor. Special report, 5 p.m. weekdays in Chicago. And the book, 3 Days in Moscow, Ronald Reagan and the Fall of the Soviet Empire. Bret, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay. Have a good one.
You too. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.